Hello and welcome to the next video in my tutorial series. As always, my name is Jay. I'm a coding tutor. Go ahead if you want to follow me on GitHub, please do that. My website and email, all that is here. So this is video number 5 now. But till now, what have I done? Till now, I've gone ahead and explained to you like a welcome thing. I've talked about how to get ready, for coding. I've done that, and then I also explained to you about the different online resources that are available. That was video number 3, and then video number 4 I told you how to get your VS Code set up and installed and everything. So I really hope that you were able to do all those things before coming here. Like every video is like a chain of links, and each link depends on the previous link. So if the previous link is broken, then the chain is broken and things won't happen the way you want it to happen. So yes, please go ahead and make sure you finish the previous steps before coming here. If there's any specific video that is optional, like an optional link, I will mention it. But as of now, I do think that I'm picking and only joining the pieces which are essential. So far there are no optional videos, but if something is optional, I will let you know during the session, or I'll just mention it in the title as well. Well, anyway, so assuming everything is done the way it was being said in the previous videos, let's go today. So now at this point, everything is ready on your computer to start doing some coding. So now let's look at our final goal. Now at the end of it all, what exactly am I trying to build here, right? I want to remind, almost every video I'll try to remind what is the end game here. So the end game here right now is, you have my repository front end for students. The link is there in the description. My plan is I have two what do you call it, capstone projects, to use the word. I have two things that I'm really trying to get working, and then right now the first project that I want to finish building is this one, which is NASA APOD fetch only. So this is really what we are trying to build at the end of the current series of videos. And of course, as we keep going, I plan to add more and more capstone projects. But right now, my goal is really to build something like this. It's doing something. Oh, hold on. Let's see. Oh, there you go. There it is. The NASA API can be slow sometimes, or it could be my internet as well. I mean, if it's a really big, I think it's my internet. I don't think it's a NASA API. It's always fast. Hold on, let me just make sure my internet is fine. Did I do? Yeah, no, it's fine. It's taking its own sweet time to load, which is okay. But there you go. But the data is already loaded. So this is really what we are trying to build here. We are trying to build a simple website, which when you click on this, it contacts the NASA APOD server, and then it gets the data. For some reason, the image is loading slowly today. Like I said, these things are expected. You just have to get used to it. When this happens, it's always a little awkward, but it is what it is. So this is what we are trying to build. So this is our first capstone project, and there's a second one. And as the video series keeps going, I plan to keep making these videos. It's like a journey. It's like a tutor student journey. So I'll keep adding more and more capstone projects as time goes by, and so on and so forth. So today the idea is I want to give a general introduction about HTML and CSS. Now, in any kind of web project, you must understand it all comes down to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That's it. It doesn't matter what framework you're using. It doesn't matter what library you're using. Ultimately, everything boils down to 3 things: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So our journey begins with HTML and CSS. Now, as always, let's go ahead and get my starter project. So I do have a starter project just for this video so that you can use it and then practice it. So once again, let me bring up my front end for students. So you go to this one, and here you'll see there's an option called CSS projects. If you scroll down, you'll find the same thing here as well. If you go this one, here you have what is called as a CSS starter project. And whenever possible, I've tried to put an online link as well. You will remember that if you really want to, you can finish the entire training completely online. That's one of the benefits about being a web developer. If you are If you want to, I don't recommend it. I personally prefer to code on my machine, but I am old school, so I like it that way. But if you really want to, you can just do all your practice without setting up anything completely online. So whenever possible, I will provide an online link as well. So this is our CSS starter project. Now you'll see that the JavaScript here is empty as of now, because this one is primarily meant for you to start your CSS journey. And you'll notice that if you go back to this one, CSS projects, you'll see that I have added one, the starter project. I've also added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 CSS projects. Now I did this when I was trying to get my when I received the online free code camp certification. So all the projects are available online. So there you go. So I simply took the code that I already wrote here, and then I put it in my GitHub repository. So there are 5 projects for you to practice. Some of them I will be making a tutorial video, right, eventually, but as of now, the code is already there. So it's really your call if you want to go there. And of course, as always, I recommend you to go ahead and get this free code camp certification as well. Very, very useful in the long run. Oh, that's the alarm. Hold on. Very, very useful in the long run. So let's go ahead and get this CSS starter project. Now I already showed in one of the previous videos how to download my code. So I hope you have already seen that video, so you know how to get my code. I'm not going to repeat that step again. So let me go ahead and open the starter project directly from the downloaded thing, and then I'll also show you how to build it yourself as well. So we'll do both, and of course we'll also see how we can do the same thing in CodePen also. So 3 ways I will go ahead and show you. So let's get to it. So I already downloaded it. Oh, there it is. I already downloaded it on my machine. Okay, there you go. Let's bring it up here on the screen. So there you go. This is my front end for students, right? And then I'm going to CSS projects. And here I want to go to CSS starter project, and there it is. So this is the project I want to use. So what I'll do is, I don't want to edit the original. I don't think that's a good idea. So I'm going to make a copy of this. Okay. And then let me go ahead and go to the desktop. And here I'm going to create a folder for practicing. I always do that. So practice, I'll call this to delete, so I don't mind deleting it later after the video recording is done. And I'm going to say, okay, there you go. Okay, so this is where I'll put all the today's practice things. So I'm going to go ahead and just paste it. Okay, so I have that now. So next step is I'll go inside, right click on the white space area, show more options, open with code, and VS Code is open. There you go. It says, do you want to trust? Definitely, of course. And then I'm going to trust this. And there it is. So I have all the starter files here. And the next thing what I want to do is, I don't think my face is blocking anything important. Let me just see. So on the top right corner, the only thing you can't see is that I have the split window option, right? I like to use the split window. So let me put my face back up here. Okay, then, so we'll see what does it contain, right? Now, I always put a README file. This is one of those GitHub things that I talk about. So any of my repositories, when we go online, if you scroll down, usually there will be a README file. You'll see here, this is the README file. You can see here also, this is the README file. It's very important. Like I've told you many times, please make sure that you have a nice online presence on GitHub, and it looks really nice, because when you apply for a job or internships, usually your GitHub profile is almost like a 24/7 resume. A lot of employers, hiring managers, they come and say, like, when I work with clients, I'll tell them, I'll just sometimes, a lot of time they'll ask my resume. I simply tell them to just take my GitHub account. My GitHub account has everything they need to know. It has links to my CodePen, Stack Overflow, YouTube channel, everything. It has all my other links and everything. It has all the work I do. So that is literally my GitHub profile is my resume. So the good thing is, when you give your GitHub link, they will go to your repositories. Right now I have 3 main repositories, and then when they go there, I mean, sure, you can just put the code, but you also need to put some documentation. For a developer, documentation is really important. I mean, I know there are a lot of folks who are like, hey, you know what, that slows you down. You want to be in a rush, you want to do things really fast, which is admirable. But for me, I like to slow down a bit. I like to go ahead and document what I'm doing. So every project I share with you, especially on GitHub, and even inside the code. I'll leave comments, I'll leave documentation. So readme.md, very, very useful. So that's the readme file here, where I have put some details like this is a starter project, and of course the online CodePen version. I always give some references, so when you're using this, always check the reference section. I would have left behind some links, and obviously, I'm a freelancer. I don't have a job or anything, so I've been working as a freelancer for like 12 plus years now. So go ahead, if you want to get in touch with me or even hire me for a project, please do so. Those details are available here, but you don't have to do that, of course. This is YouTube, so it's just a anyway. So there you go. So now, because we are talking about HTML and CSS, we are only concerned with 2 files right now. Now, if you are doing JavaScript as well, that is what we will do when we have to build this. Oh wow, the NASA image is not loading at all today. Very interesting. I don't know, something could be going on there. I'm not sure. Let me just give it one more try. Yeah, it is coming. It's loading. Let me check the network. It is loading. That's fine. However, the image is not coming today. I don't know. We'll worry about that later. But anyway, that's what we are trying to build anyway. So there you go. Coming back here. So we are, in CSS, when you're practicing CSS, the only 2 things that matter. So you have the HTML file, and then you have the CSS file, right? So on the HTML file is where you write your HTML tags. You know what? This is not exactly formatted, is it? So let me go ahead and try to do a little bit of formatting here. I do have Prettier extension installed, but okay, so let's go ahead and do this a little bit like this. This is called indentation. What I like to do is, when you're coding, you want to leave an indent space. Usually it's 1 tab. It makes the code look a little bit nicer. So let's just do that. There you go. So that definitely looks much, much better. So that like here it's already indented. That's fine. So there you go. Cool, very cool. Right, indentation, I like it. So 2 files, HTML and CSS. Now there are many ways you can do styling, like you can put the style tag directly here like this. Okay, but I don't want to do that right now. If you want to, you can do it, but I normally, what I do is I always go ahead and use inside the head tag, I like to go ahead and do the, wait, is this too small? I hope it's not too small. I hope you can see the code. Because if I make it too zoomed in, I can't type. So hopefully you're watching the video on a bigger screen. Even a laptop screen, you should be able to see it. So right then, so there you go. So I always like, whenever I want to do CSS, I like to use this method. I like to put the style sheet here. Okay, and then I mention the style sheet, which is there here, and it's linked. So like right now on the left side, go ahead. Now, before you do that, I should mention this. So to be able to run this project, you want to make sure that I've installed the live preview extension. Now there are many such extensions. So if I just search for live server, you'll get a lot of brands, guys. You have something called live server, you have another live server, and then you have live server preview, you have live preview, you have XBBA. You can see there are so many live servers. Obviously, right? It's a common feature, and a lot of people are building it. Now, when I started programming, I'm talking many years ago, especially with VS Code, I used to use the live server from this Ritwik Day person, and then I think somewhere he mentions that I don't know, somewhere at some point I think it stopped or something, I'm not sure, but still it was working all the time, so I started using it. But then eventually what happened was I switched to using the Microsoft version. And you'll see this in all my videos, I am something of a Microsoft fan. That is where I started my career. I have a, let me just show to you. Hold on. If you go to my website here, this is my website. If you go here, you'll see that I have a bunch of certifications. So one of the certifications I'm really proud of is that I have a Microsoft MVP award. So this is something I received, I believe, in 2014 and so on. So I've always been a Microsoft guy. Like back in the 2012, there was this Windows Phone thing. I was a big fan of Windows Phone. That really what attracted me to become a .NET developer in the first place, although over the years I have expanded my skill set to include other things. I mean, right now I'm making videos about JavaScript instead of C#. I plan to do C# videos as well, but we'll worry about that later. But anyway, so what I'm saying is you have to install live preview extension for these classes, but if you want to use some other extension, it will be the same thing, but it's up to you. But I myself, I'm a Microsoft fan, so I like to use the Microsoft version, so I am happy with this. So I'm really happy with the performance of this and all that, and it's from Microsoft, so that's good enough for me. So there you go. So make sure you have the live preview extension installed on your machine, and then what you want to do here is, so when you open this folder, all you have to do is right click, okay, on the index.html file, and then you have an option called show preview, and that's it. It'll open up like this. So you can, and then if you want to, you can just do the coding right here. So let me just do that. Let me make this a little bit smaller, or I can even make it go away. And then I'm going to say h1 hello there, how are you? So there you go. Now as you type, the preview comes automatically. Now if this is not happening to you, then probably in your autosave is turned off. Like if you turn off autosave, so I'm gonna say h1 I just turned off whatever. It is still giving a preview, although I'm not saving the file. But you will see here there's a black dot here on the top, which means the file is not saved. So normally I like to code with autosave turned on. Okay, so there you go. You can look at and practice things right here. I can go here and I can say, I have the paragraph, right? So I can probably do something like P, and then there you go. And then I can say color, and I'll say purple. There you go. The paragraph is now purple. You can see it here. It was purple. Now let me just try to change it to something else. Let me make this blue. There you go. Let me make this red. Boom. There you go. The same thing here. I can do this h1. I can go and I can say, hey, this is orange. There you go. Or I can also do something like this. I can take this and I can say class, and then I can say h1 Okay, that's a class name. So I'll come back to the left side and I'm going to say dot. You have to use dot when you're using a specific class. Okay, and then here I'm going to say color, and I will just pick something from the list. Okay, there you go, indigo. There it is. That's indigo, and that's so. But you'll notice something, right? Now this one, when you use the tag name in your class, all of them get affected by it. But when you use a specific class, only that specific DOM element. Now try to understand, every tag is essentially a DOM element. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to apply styling to a specific DOM, and we can also apply to all of them. So all paragraphs will have the red color. However, if I take this paragraph and I will say something like, I think I saw it in the movie Baragera something. I don't know what movie it was, I can't remember. So now this one is also, what do you say, whatever this color is, but I can give it a specific class, and I can say p1. I can come here and I can say dot p1, and I can go and I can say color. Right, and then once again I'll pick some random color, whatever catches my fancy. Oh, I don't know, moccasin. Again, I've heard that in some movie. Okay, moccasin. There you go. But if I have another paragraph, let me just copy paste this. See, all the paragraphs will have this RGB red color, but this specific paragraph will have the moccasin color. Moccasin, yeah, it was in the movie Back to the Future Part 3. There's a Wild West scene where people are sitting in a saloon, and some guys are trying to make fun of the main character who is from the future. But anyway, so moccasin, yeah, moccasin, that's where the word moccasin comes. So he was wearing the moccasin color shoes or something, I guess. But anyway, so this is what I'm talking about. So this is like applies to all the DOM elements with the p tag. This will get applied to all the h1 DOM elements, but if you want to specifically modify an individual DOM element, you can apply a class to it like this and put your own thing for that. Like I let me see if this will work. I'm not really that good in CSS, but I'm going to try here. So let me see if I can make this. There you go. It does have the option. So let me see if I can make it 50px. There you go. Boom. So all the paragraphs have the default size of text. However, only this one paragraph, the font size has been increased. Okay, so there you go. That's really what I'm talking about. Now I can also add a margin. I can say margin top. I can say 25px. There you go. Now I can say all the paragraphs. Now here it's very important you put the semicolon when you're doing. So I can say just margin. I can say 100px. There you go. See, all the paragraphs have a 100 px margin, but this one still has margin left, bottom, and right has 100px, but the top margin is only 25cx. Now there are other ways to check this as well, so let's do that. So let's copy the URL. Now look at this on the top right corner. Let me remove my face if you can't see it. So there you go, at the very top you have the URL. Okay, so get the URL, copy it, and now let's come back to, so let's come back to here, and now what you can do is, now for, this is where I call a developer tool. So go here and then go to developer tools. There you go, hold on, and you can use the selector. There it is. Okay, so that's how you can check what is happening with what. So now I'm interested in what is happening with the paragraph tag. Now you'll see here the paragraph tag, it has 100 margin all over. You can see that on the left side. Everywhere it has 100px. However, this one, it has 100 on left, it has 100 on bottom, it has 100 on right, but the top margin is 25 because I mentioned here that the margin top should be 25px with that class called p1. Now if I uncheck this, that will also have a margin of 100 because I just edited it. So you can edit classes here. So, but I'm going to put it back in, and now once again it become margin top is 25px. So same thing with here. Now you can go to this h1, and I know by default all the h1s have the yellow color because you can see here right now this is the standard styling. Okay, so this is the default styling of h1. This is the styling that I am trying to force with the h1 selector, and then I'm further trying to select further influence the styling by saying the color should be indigo. Now if I uncheck this, even that h1 will become this RGB color of that moccasin thing, I guess. But then here when I turn back the specific class, it gets overwritten. That is why CSS is called cascading style sheets. So the styles cascade like a waterfall from the top to bottom. Now here it is reverse, of course, but you have to think of it from the bottom up approach. So this is where it starts, the bottom area, and then this gets applied here, then this gets applied here. So it keeps getting overwritten depending on what styling you're applying at the lower level. So start top and then get narrow and narrow as per your requirement. So that is about the how you would go about using the oh, hold on. Oh, not this, sorry. Okay, so that's the general discussion I was talking about. Now I showed you how you can just use the starter project, right? So that is all you have to do. Let's just do it one more time before I go to the next step. So what I'm trying to say is, okay, so what I'm trying to say is whenever you want to practice, you simply want to go ahead and use the starter project. Okay, so I have it here. Now this one, let me just close this. Okay, so let's say I'm done with today's practice and I want to practice something else. So what I'll do is I'll keep this one. I'll just change the folder name, say 1. Right. I'll go back to the original front end for students. I'll go to the starter project, Control C, copy, and then paste it. And then I'm going to call this project 2. And now I'll just go in, right click, show more options, open with VS Code, and that's it. Now once again I'll just right click here on index.html, show preview, and then I'll open index.html here. I'll open style.css here, and let me just open both the files, and then that's it. Now I can just start practicing. That's it. Very, very easy. So whenever you want to practice something new, just go ahead, duplicate the folder, give it a different name, and then start practicing, and you're good to go. And as I mentioned, it's very good if you have 2 or 3 monitors like I do, because when you're typing, I like to use the I like to use the split screen a lot. So what I like to do is I take this URL, I'll put it on my Google Chrome, and then what I do is I put this Google Chrome out of this monitor and put it on my second monitor. or on my third monitor. And then what I'll do is I'll use split screen like this. So that way I can look at both HTML and CSS. So I have HTML on one side, I have CSS on another side. So this is really important because when you're trying to work on a project, you are always jumping between multiple files. Like in the beginning, you'll be jumping between index.html and style.css. But as you build, once we start doing JavaScript, you will then have 3 files to worry about. You have index.html, you have styles.css, and you also have script.js in the beginning. And eventually, as you build bigger project, especially when we move on from the vanilla JS. So what we are doing right now is essentially just vanilla JS, which means it's basic JS. Nobody builds projects with the basic vanilla JS. It's not impossible, but no one does that. But you have to start there though. You should know how to build basic things with vanilla JS before you move on to libraries like React.js and frameworks like Next.js. So we'll come to that. So eventually when we migrate, once we build our, NASA project, the one I just showed you about, once we build our NASA project, obviously, we'll move on to build the same NASA project using React.js. So React.js is a library, and where you would have many files, you'll be constantly switching in multiple windows. So that is why the second monitor and the third monitor becomes so useful. And obviously, once you start building advanced React.js projects, once you start building Next.js projects, there will be so many files being opened, split screen, triple split screen, and stuff like that. So get used to it. Okay. This is not to say that you can't do all your coding in a single screen. A lot of people do that. If you're a student, most of the time you're in school, you're traveling here, there, from home to college. The only thing you can carry with you is your laptop. So I get that. It is not impossible. But the more screens you have, the better you'll code, the faster is your coding. It's good. Okay, so that's one thing I wanted to show you. That's the general discussion about HTML, CSS, and the starter project. Now let's try to build the starter project in VS Code, shall we? So let's go ahead and give it a try. So let me see here. Okay, so there we go. Once again, let's come back to practice to delete, September 8, 2024, and I will say right click. Okay, I'm going to say building CSS starter project. I'll try to avoid copy pasting things. Okay, so create a empty folder, right click, open with VS Code. There you go. As always, I have my notes here on my second screen that you can't see. Okay, so what we're do is I need 3 files, right? So let me go ahead and keep this here. Okay, so now I need 3 files. So first file is obviously going to be index.html, right? And then the next file is going to be styles.css. Now, if you want to, you can create a README file as well. So that's going to be readme.md. I like to put documentation, whatever I do, it's just my style. So I'm going to create a README file as well, although that is not really necessary. Okay, so this is the README file. So this is the building the CSS starter project. CSS starter project. I can put more information if I want, but I'll leave it at that right now. Next thing is I want my index.html. So let me see. Okay, all right. There was an option. I forget the Emmet abbreviation. So I guess I'm just going to have to, type it out. So let's do that here. So a standard HTML project will have what is called as a doc type. I guess it's going to be, there you go. No. Okay. All right. So there you go. Like I said, I don't want to copy paste anything, so I'm going to type the whole thing. I have my example code as well. So doc type is HTML. So in HTML, you have to mention the document type. So we are doing HTML, so it is going to be HTML. The other formats could be XML. If you're working with XML files, then you would have the doc type as XML. So there you go. Next thing is, an HTML file will obviously have the HTML tag. So there you go. Again, not copy pasting anything. Let me go ahead and do the preview thing. So as I'm typing, let's things come. So inside HTML, we'll have at least 2 things. We'll have a head. Actually, you know what? I don't have to keep doing the tag. There you go. And then we'll also have the body. We have a head and a body. Now in the head, the only thing I want to do is, if I want to, I can give it a title. So let me put a title. This is the CSS starter project. Okay, and then I'm going to go, oh, not in the body. Let me just cut that and put it in the head. There you go. Next, in the body, I don't want anything fancy. I just want a simple header. So I'm going to say h1, hello, this is a starter project. Okay, good. And then I want a paragraph. So I'll say, how are you? Hope you are learning something. Okay, so that's all very good. Now I want to link the CSS styling sheet. So I already have the styling sheet created, styles.css. The naming of the file is very important. So here I'm going to say I have to use the link tag to link things. So there you go. And then href, I'm going to say, now another good thing about VS Code is that it'll automatically try to help you whatever files you're trying to link. So right now, see, the moment I typed yes, the computer is trying to tell me, hey, there is already a file called styles.css. So good, I can just select it with my mouse, and there you go, that is now selected. So once that is selected, I'll go to the file, and here I want to say something like h1, right? So I'm going to say h1, and here I want to say color, and I want to pick let's see, pale green. There you go. Now I want to do the same thing to the paragraph tag. So I'm going to say paragraph color. Okay, let's see, string green. That's it. And there you go. As always, I can go ahead and open this in Chrome. Let's do that. Looking good. Now I want to open the developer tools, top right corner, more tools. Developer tools, it says failed to load, let's just reload it. There you go. And then I can use this selector thing, and it's all selected. Very nice, very easy, right? I can go here. If I don't like this, I can uncheck the color. Boom. I can go here, I can uncheck this color as well. It's back, and then I can just reload, and they come back to how they were. So that is really how you go ahead and build your own starter project. Now, what if you want to do this on CodePen? I do mention that, yes, you can just practice everything on CodePen. So let's try that as well. So I'm going to go to my Firefox here. Let me bring it up. Okay, I'll go to codepen.io. Make sure you're already signed in. I got to change that photo. Okay, all right. So yeah, it's a very old photo of mine. I used to have a very bushy beard last year. It's gone now, as you can see. I thought I would try out a long beard thing for a few months. So now create a new pen. Just click on the left side here. Just click on pen. There it is. And we're going to call the CSS starter. I'll give it a nice title. I like to give a title. You can leave it untitled. It's really up to you. Now what I want to do is, again, HTML is here. I'll hit save. Okay, we don't need JavaScript right now, so we can get rid of it, just like in VS Code. So there you go. Once again, I just typed all this, so I hope it's okay if I go ahead and just copy paste these things. So I'm going to take this. I'll come back here. Okay, there you go. And then CSS again. I hope I don't have to type the whole thing. I just typed it 2 seconds ago, so I hope it's all right. And there it is. I hit save, and then I can get the output here. But of course, if you don't want this, you want more space, you can minimize this. There's a small button here called open live window, and then that's it. You can practice, and you know what you can do? You can also actually just put this on the left side, put this on the right side. There you go, just like how you do it on my computer. And I can say something like, okay, there it is. And then I hit save. Sometimes it automatically updates immediately, but sometimes you have to reload like this. So coding online, this is how you can just, like I said, if you don't want to do all that VS Code setup, GitHub setup, and all those things, you can literally practice everything directly on CodePen. But again, it is a browser-based thing, so there will be limitations, like it's going to be a little bit slow. Everything depends on your computer, on your internet speed and things like that. But, there are always scenarios where you're not able to configure things locally. Any number of reasons, really. So yeah, online web editors are quite useful, although I don't find them as fast as directly coding it on the machine. But your mileage will vary. I like this way. You might like the online way. I do not know. So that is really how we go ahead and build the starter project in VS Code. Now, before I wrap up this, I do want to talk about, how deep should be your knowledge. in HTML, CSS, or in fact, in general, how deep of a knowledge you should have. So when it comes to programming, the more knowledge you have, the more you know, the better for you as a developer. Okay, but at the same time, we are all constantly facing limitations of time and of course the ability to absorb and understand things. Like for instance, naturally, I am pretty good on the programming side of things. I started off in C and then C++ and then eventually C Sharp and Java and Python and PHP and so on and so forth. And I find whenever I'm coding in C Sharp or whenever I'm coding in JavaScript, I find myself far more confident, far more excitable and happy but at the same time, whenever I'm working on HTML, CSS, I frequently find myself getting lost or not enjoying it at all. So whenever I get a client projects or something, I mean, sure, I'm teaching now, like I said, I have some demo projects for you. One of them, at least, I will make a video in one of the future things, but I don't enjoy it that much. So a lot of times when I'm working on a client project, I usually tell them, if it's a big enough, if I'm working solo, then I'll do everything. I'll do the styling myself. I'll do the HTML, CSS, all that myself. It's fine. Although I don't enjoy it, I still do it. But if it's if it's a bigger team, then usually I'll tell them, I want to focus more on the JavaScript side of things. And it's better if they are better off hiring somebody to take care of the styling and so on. So there you go. So how much you spend time on HTML, CSS alone, and how much time you spend on JavaScript, it's really your decision. If you find yourself becoming comfortable with styling, then great, spend just as much time you spend on JavaScript. But again, in my case, in this tutorial series, very soon, I don't think I'll be spending too much time on CSS. And as much as possible, I'll try to use something ready-made like Bootstrap or, MUI or some other online library which is ready to use. There are a lot of online websites where you can get ready to use CSS things. For example, let me just show you. So a lot of times when I'm working on a project, what I do is I simply just use Bootstrap for everything. I like Bootstrap mainly because it saves me a lot of time. It has all these ready-made components. Okay, so I can just go. So like, for example, if I'm working on a project and I want like a navigation, there it is. Yeah, if I want to do like a, what do you say, nav bar or something, hold on. Yeah, there you go. So if I'm working, if I want to do like a list or something, then I'll just use the list code from Bootstrap. So if I'm working on something like, there you go, if I want a starter template to start with, I will just use the starter template given by Bootstrap. Yeah, I don't understand. Today, some websites are loading really, really slow. I don't know why. Yeah, some sites are loading fast, other sites they're loading very slow. I don't know why. Okay, there you go. So again, you have the starter project here. So I can just use the starter project from Bootstrap. So if I'm working on some list, I could sit and build my own list, or I can just use the list code from Bootstrap. So this is one thing which I like about styling. So even if you don't become like an expert in like if you want a navbar or something, so again, there's a ready to use navbar code available to you. So you can just use this. Problem solved, see? And it's responsive, and it does all this, all the hard work is done for you. So you're good to go, right? See, look at that. And you get something that is ready to use with all the animation, night mode, dark mode, whatever it is that you're looking for, you can get it done. So a lot of time, the styling part, if you're okay, at least for your demo project, like, ultimately this is a beginner series of videos meant for first-time coders. So a lot of times you can skip all the effort that goes into CSS by using something ready-made like Bootstrap. Another option would be, I think, MUI. There you go, MUI. Yes, there is. So again, you can use ready-made material UI and stuff like that. So there you go. So one of the things normally I just use CSS, or also if you React, we have React Strap. There you go. We have React Strap. There it is. So when I'm working on a React.js project, I just make my life easy and use React Bootstrap. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. Or you can build your own style. Or there are other websites, like for example, there is this website called Creative Tim, where they give you a lot of ready to use templates and themes. In a lot of my client projects, what we do is, especially when we are building like workshopping new ideas and things like that, it's easy for us to simply, like, if I normally I work on React, so I'll just go to React and we'll just purchase one of the, we'll just download one of the free themes, or we'll just outright purchase a theme set. It's only like $89 or $59, something good enough for the project we're working on, and make additional customizations as we need. So eventually, when it comes to CSS, you make the call. And of course, if you are planning to become a front-end developer, like a focus on CSS itself, then of course that itself can be a major journey for you. So ultimately, to answer that question, how deep should you go to CSS? The answer is up to you. How deep? Like I myself, I don't really enjoy HTML CSS that much. So most of the time, I simply use existing tools. Like I said, I simply use either ready-made templates, or I use like Bootstrap, or I use something like MUI, and I just get my life easy. Go ahead and do that, and of course then make additional customization as per the client requirements. And if I cannot do specific customizations, I can always hire out a CSS expert for an hour or two, get the work done, and move on with my life. So really, it's your call how deep you want to go into HTML and CSS. So that's all I want to talk in this video. So there you go. You have all you need to start on the HTML CSS starter folder. I've given the links. I put the necessary links in the description. And of course, I will add, as this video series continues, I will keep adding videos. I'm sure 1 or 2 CSS projects I will put, but mainly I'm interested in focusing. Most of my videos will focus on JavaScript related things, but let's see what happens. Thank you.